There was this program on the TV I was watching the other night. It was called The Elephant Queen. Don't know whether you've seen it, but it tells the story of these African elephants who lived on the African savannah. And it was going through the whole year cycle of their life. And it was quite amazing, beautiful pictures. And in one of the shots, there was a drone high above, and you could see through the drone this incredibly clear pathway. And you could see it when there's flooding, when it was green, when it was dry. Every season, you could see that the path was exactly there because that path had been trodden into the dirt by probably millions of elephants. You can imagine the pounding on the soil by these elephants and over thousands and thousands of years. I looked at it and I thought, that's an ancient path. It's been there a long time. I would like to have an ancient path that is very clear for me to follow. And it's probably got signposts that say something like, walk this way. Here's where you need to take the next step. You're going with others. They've been before. This is a tried and true pathway. Look, these days there are so many guides, aren't there, out there? They're all clamoring for your attention, for your dollars. But I think what you want, really, really want, is a guide who is old and crusty, one who has taken pilgrims through this part of the journey thousands of times. One that you can trust because they've been there and they've done that. For me, one of those guides is a man by the name of Jeremiah in the Bible. And this was a time that he didn't have internet, he didn't have AI, he certainly didn't have social media, other than probably what other people told him, sort of thing. But he knew silence, he knew solitude, and he knew sacrifice. He knew rejection and struggle. He is known actually as the weeping prophet. Right? In his ancient path experience, his heart was being tuned to hear God and to receive words to share. And he wrote this down. Thus says the Lord, stand in the crossroads and look and ask for the ancient paths where the good way lies, and walk in it and find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not walk in it. Jeremiah 6:16. When I was reading that yesterday in preparation for this, there was 5 verbs that jumped out at me. 5 action words that Jeremiah hears and relates. Stand, look, ask, walk, find. Stand. Stand in that place where you have to make a decision. There's a crossroad. A left or a right, the road less travelled or the superhighway everyone goes down. Look at the paths, the sleek, modern, new, shiny one, everyone is doing this thing, path, or the old ancient path, narrow, covered in cobwebs, and it's sometimes quite dark. Ask not for a better, more comfortable life of self-gratification and ease, but for the path that is where the good way lies, knowing God in deeper and deeper ways. Walk, take millimetre steps. I keep on coming back to millimetre steps. Look, mostly forward, but sometimes, the foot slips and you slide back. You stumble, you graze your hands, but you kind of pick yourself up and you recommence the journey, recommence on the path. Find rest for your soul. And that's probably what we most want, isn't it? Rest for your soul. Less striving for things that really aren't that important. A contentment and peacefulness grows within you that is beyond understanding. Head knowledge becomes heart knowledge. But then there is this stubborn resistance, isn't there? A stubborn response that Jeremiah says, we will not walk in it. And my mind goes to a petulant child crossing their arms and stomping their feet, grimacing and saying no. And And the parent says, look, I know this medicine is good for you, but the child says, no, we will not. Have you ever been like this? I'm sure we all have, yeah? Either as a parent or as a child. Jesus said this about the ancient path he wants us to take. Enter through the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the road is easy that leads to destruction, and there are many who take it. For the gate is narrow and the road is hard that leads to life, and there are few who find it. Jesus described the narrow gate and the path as being like two giant boulders where you have to take off your luggage just to squeeze through. You have to let go of things from that you've been holding on to. And this squeeze isn't a punishment. No, it's more of an invitation to shed what doesn't fit anymore. Those stinky beliefs, because they're just not going to work for the next section of the path. You need to let go of those things and take on new things. I think one of the most important things about this path is you don't take it alone. You go with someone else. And I was thinking about this and Lord of the Rings story, and how Frodo in the Lord of the Rings had his friend, his Batman, okay, he was a Batman. You have to come over to the site to have a look at that, find out what that means. He had his Batman called Sam Gamgee. Look, you're standing at the crossroads of a decision. There's the easy, most obvious, and actually sometimes the best path. But do you take that path out of a mindless habit? Just go that way. Or has there been a well-reasoned consideration? Has there been a prayerful look and ask? Look, the stakes are really high. Destruction, which basically means a loss of life, real life, or gaining life. And what we're talking about there is an abundant spring of life bubbling up, something way beyond comprehension. Jesus said it's a narrow path and few take it. Look, here's what the ancient path will look like. Hey, this isn't pretty. It will be more about honesty than performance. Okay? It generally goes down before it goes up. It's going to ask you to pray more and do less. Yeah, it's a really well-trodden path because others like you have walked it. And here's the final one. It's predictable that a resistance to walk it will come up in you. I don't want to do that. No. Look, these ancient paths aren't so much about rules to follow, though of course there are some rules, but more a way of about being human. The ancient path is slow and at times difficult, but it can be relied on. Hey, subscribe to get more videos like this. Leave a comment below. Share this with your friends. Thanks. See you on the path.